Hi, I'm Christian Triola, author of The Missing Method for Guitar books. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the pentatonic scale, what it is, how to use it, and why it's so important. But before we get started, make sure you download the PDF that shows you the pentatonic scale in 5 different positions, all in the key of A minor or C major. Now, when I first learned the pentatonic scale, it was after about 2 or 3 years of playing guitar. I hadn't really been exposed to it before. So what happened is I went to a mall of all places and went to a CD shop at the mall, and they had all these books on how to play different types of instruments. So I was like, hey, check it out. There's some stuff on guitar here. So I picked up a book called Progressive Lead Guitar, and in that book, they introduced you to the pentatonic scale. But they really didn't tell you exactly what to do with it. It was just, here's the scale, here are some licks, and kind of go for it. So I had no idea why I needed to learn this scale, why it was so important. But I did it anyway. I had a good time learning it, and I loved how it sounded. So I would just practice it over and over again. I remember when I first started learning it, how weird it was to try to get my pinky to play along, because I really hadn't used my pinky much before then. And so it kind of felt uncomfortable at first, but after a while I was able to play it without any trouble. So I'd learned it, I'd been playing it, but I really didn't know how to use it yet exactly, or why it was so important for lead guitar. And then I heard the pentatonic scale in a television commercial. It just so happened they were selling a car, and then in the background, after the narrator would stop speaking, you heard, then they'd say something else clever about the car, and then you hear, and I was like, wait, I can play that. I've played that a bunch of times, and it's just the pentatonic scale going backward right on the guitar. So that made me think, you know, that does sound familiar. I've heard this before. So I started listening to a lot of different CDs I had at the time, and song after song after song was using this scale, either in full, or they might add a note or two here just to make it a little bit more interesting. But all this stuff, it turned out, was based on the pentatonic scale. So I knew I had to start learning this and really taking it more seriously. So here's what the pentatonic scale is. You have the word penta, which means 5, like pentagon or pentagram or something like that. Then you have the word tonic, which just means tone. So it's a 5-tone scale. Now the regular major scale or minor scale that we're used to is a 7-note scale, plus of course its octave. So the pentatonic scale, 5 notes, and then you can of course include its octave as well. And just like the regular major and minor scales, the pentatonic scales also have a major and minor version. So I'm going to play those now. So here's the minor pentatonic scale. Plus its octave, of course. Now here's the major pentatonic scale. 5 notes. In fact, in those cases, they're the same 5 notes, but in a different order. So we have minor. So it's those first 2 notes that give it that minor sound. And in the major, it's the first 3 notes that give it the major sound. And so you can hear that difference, even though it's the same set of notes that I was playing. All right, so what I'm going to do next is simply show you the basic A minor pentatonic scale, which is on that PDF, and that's where I suggest you start. Just learn that one version of the scale in one position. Then once you've got that, you can start exploring the same scale at different starting points on the last string. So here's A minor pentatonic. We're going to start with the first finger on the 5th fret of the last string. Then the next note is 4 notes higher on fret 8, and I always use the pinky to get that because it just makes it a lot easier to play across the board. So those are your first 2 notes, A, followed by C at the 8th fret. Next up, we go to string 5, play the 5th fret again, followed by the 7th. And this time I use the 3rd finger for the 7th. Then next string, same thing, 5, 7, same 2 fingers. Next string, same thing again, 5, 7th fret. And then when we get to the second string, it's more like the 6th string, where you have the 5th fret, followed by the 8th fret with the pinky. And then we wrap it up with the 5th fret again, followed by the 8th fret with the pinky. So you can see in this position we're playing more than 5 notes. We're playing more than 5 notes plus the octave. So what we have is the pentatonic scale twice plus a couple extra notes. So here's the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it ends on the 4th string, 5th fret. The next one starts 4th string, 7th fret. So there's 2 full octaves, and then we have 1 string left over. So we have A and C, which are the same 2 notes we started with. So it's good to learn all the notes in one position so that you have a lot of different options to choose from. Now the nice thing is, since it's only a 5-note scale, once you get used to that pattern, you can start moving that all over the neck. So what I did there is I only played the pentatonic scale plus the octave. And so I can take that, and let's say I'm going to start on the A way up here at the 12th fret of the 5th string. I'm going to do that same exact pattern. Same thing exactly. But then let's say you wanted to play the pentatonic scale in a different key, because right now we've only played it in A. Well, we could go to, let's say, C minor pentatonic, starting on the note C, 3rd fret of the 5th string, play the same pattern. Or let's say you want F sharp. Just go to the F sharp on the last string, 2nd fret. And so it gives you all these different options, 5 notes all over the neck, and you can play in any key just with those notes, and it's really a lot of fun to do. And since the pentatonic scale is, I guess you could call it predictable in that manner, just like any scale would be, there are other patterns that you can learn across the neck that connect some of those scale patterns. So here's one way to do that. You have this other way of playing the pentatonic scale where instead of playing it within a box pattern like we have been, where you shift upward. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and you can hear that's the major pentatonic, G major in this case, 3rd fret, 5th fret, slide up to the 7th, and then we have 5th fret on the next string, 7th fret. So here we have. Now here's the cool thing. You do the same thing again. So you have the same exact thing up an octave. So then you can play 2 octaves of the major pentatonic just like that. So it's a very versatile scale. It sounds amazing on the guitar. In fact, it's almost like the guitar was built to play the pentatonic scale. But why is it so important? Besides the fact that it's used in countless numbers of songs as the basis for riffs and solos and things like that, it also helps you learn your guitar faster because you're kind of moving all over the place, just getting these sounds down. Also, once you know the pentatonic scale, you're only 1 note away from learning the blues scale. So if you have that A minor pentatonic, all you have to do is add an extra note on the 5th string. So you would do 5, 6, 7, and now you got the blues scale. And of course, a lot of players will include that extra note in there along with the pentatonic scale because it sounds so awesome. I mean, check this out. Here's the whole scale with the blue notes in it. All right, you can hear how good that sounds. All I did was add that one note to it. So the one note I added, of course, we already looked at. The other one is just up on the 3rd string, 8th fret. So you add that to it too. So it's just that same note an octave higher. So here it is in order. Now you've got the blues scale just like that. And of course, the main reason you want to learn this scale is that if you go to a jam session, this is the scale that most players are going to play. They're going to play either the pentatonic scale or the blues scale, any key that's guitar friendly. So I'm going to give you an example of how you might do that. So to start, I'm going to play a backing track, and while that backing track is on, I'm just going to play the A minor pentatonic scale. So here we go. All right, so you can hear those notes sound great. The chords that were being played there are A, D, and C. And so along with those chords, you can just play the pentatonic scale. You could also include an E5 power chord in there. So basically it's in the key of A minor. And so I was just playing the notes that go along with that from the scale. But let's say you want to do more than just play through the scale up and down. Even though it sounds cool, you want to mix it up a little bit. And that's where you start creating your own solos. And so I'm just going to give you a quick example of what you might do. So here we go. All right, so you can hear in that last bit, I added those blues notes to it just so you could get an idea of what that might sound like. And so all I was doing was playing notes in that scale, kind of going off the chords, kind of going off what was in my head. And I was trying not to make it too complicated. There was a few spots that were a little faster, but you don't have to make it that fast. In fact, if you just use a couple of notes, you can make a solo sound pretty cool. I'll just give you a quick example here. And so you can hear there, I was just playing a couple of notes on the first couple strings, keeping it simple so that I could just get my mind around what was going on. And that's how you solo. You don't have to start off with something super complicated or fancy. You can play something that's within your realm of playing at this point in time. And the more you do that, the more you can add to it and the faster you'll get at it, and then you'll start sounding more like you want to. So the pentatonic scale, it sounds great, it never gets old, it's a lot of fun to play, and it's also easy to learn on the guitar and remember. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to continue mastering the pentatonic scale, moving outside of some of the things that we talked about today, I'd recommend this book, Pentatonic Master. Basically, it's 97 warm-ups using the pentatonic scale so that you'll learn the pentatonic scale all over the neck, not just in one position, but everywhere. So definitely check that out if you're looking to master that scale and really get good at it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel. If you did like the video, feel free to like it. I always appreciate it when people do that. And also be sure to join our mailing list. Once you're on the mailing list, you'll be updated on new videos we're putting out, as well as new books from the Missing Method brand. So sign up and I'll see you in the next video.